Hey y'all. So I'm hopping on just a couple minutes early to get myself settled before you guys start jumping on. I'm so excited. I haven't talked to y'all in so long. So, hey Mitch, thanks for joining. But yeah, so it's been a while since we've had a Facebook Live. Hey Terrell. And I'm in a fantastic mood. Hey Felicia. So hopefully what I share tonight blesses somebody and we can have some good conversation. Hey girl, hey. All right, so it is 8:30. We're gonna go ahead and get started. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tremaine Wills, the founder of the group, founder of Mind Over Money, and kind of just like the organizer behind this space. This is the How I Did It series, and tonight we are talking about budgeting. So it's called Budget Like a Boss. And so I'm going to just give you some tips on how I began to budget better. And so I'm not saying that this is like the only way to do it, but just sharing my experience with budget. Hey Glenn. Yeah, so Shantae, hey. Welcome everybody that's joining in. Hopefully everybody had a fantastic day. I know my day was amazing because today was the last day with students. And so now I have all this free time in the summer to work on helping you guys and really focus more on this part of my passion. I'm talking about financial literacy. And so just a couple pieces of information to give you. If you are ever trying to reach me, my email is tremaine@mindovermoney.net. And I'll post all this stuff in the comments when I upload the video at the end. Website is mindovermoney.net. And then you can follow me on social media. So my personal accounts are Tremaine Wills. That's on Twitter, Instagram. If you're not already my friend on Facebook, feel free to look for me. And then the business accounts on IG is mind_o_money757. And then, yeah, make sure you like our Facebook page, Mind Over Money LLC. And then lastly, my baby that I've been working on, Mind Over Money Foundation. I'm so excited to announce that the vision I had is finally coming true. I was able to place my very first intern in her internship with Siren Beauty Bar. So shout out to Siren Beauty Bar. We were able to place an intern there for 5 weeks, paid intern. Hey Stephanie, thanks for joining. Where she's going to be learning about building her craft, some marketing things, and just like the nature of that relationship there, just being there for an hour, it was like so amazing. I'm so happy to finally start to see my hard work pay off. So if you aren't following me on social media and you want to see kind of what's going on as I build and grow here in the 757 and go other places, definitely do that. So yeah, shout out to Siren Beauty Bar and Shakia, you are the best. And then also the credit cohort. So the masterclass, our first cohort is underway. So shout out to anybody that's in the masterclass, learning and growing with me. Again, another vision I had of a way to bring information. Thanks, Shantae. Bring information to you guys at an affordable cost that was still quality. Because again, I think that this information shouldn't cost you $300, $400, $500, right? So at the end of the day, the mission is to spread the information in a way that is reasonable. Okay. All right. So that's all the behind the scenes stuff, just to catch you guys up on what's been going on with me and Mind Over Money. So tonight we're talking about budgeting. So first, what is a budget and what it is not. So when I think about a budget, I like to think of it as like a roadmap, a guide, something that takes me through a specific time period with my finances. And so what I don't think of it as is like a strict set of rules that I have to do, like, I can only spend $100 on gas. You have to be flexible because like maybe you have to travel a little bit further to do something for work or something comes up, right? It's flexible. If you need to adjust things, you can, but what you don't want to do is exceed your income, whatever you spend, right? So a lot of people, when they think about budgets, they think it's taboo, budgets are for broke people. And one thing I like to think about is that no, when I was working for NASA, I was looking at $1 million budgets, like multi-million-dollar budgets. And it's not a thing that's broke. Big corporations use budgets to help them keep track of their finances. So if big corporations with lots of zeros in their bank account are using this to keep track of their money. Hey Z, thanks for joining. This is something we should be doing as well, right? So like, it's not about the number of zeros in your bank account, right? It's about how you're managing what you have. And so until you learn to manage what you have, getting more is not going to be any better, right? So like, sometimes we like to think that once I get more money, then I'll do X, Y, Z. No. It's not going to change until you learn how to manage what you have. So when you change your mindset about, hey, Justice, when you change your mindset about that, you'll start to see some real results, right? So I have a friend who is like so gun-ho against using a budget, right? It's just like, I have enough money. And I think that mindset is detrimental because yes, I'm sure you have enough money to cover your expenses, but you could be more efficient with what you have, right? So like, just because I have excess money doesn't mean I'm putting it to the best use. And so budgets allow us to see, what our money is doing and making sure that we're using our resource wisely, right? So yeah, I think budgets are good for everybody, regardless of what your level of income is. Because it just helps you be a better steward of your finances, right? And so if you want more, you have to learn how to take care of what you have, right? Okay, so that's about budget. So I have 3 tips tonight that I'm going to go over. And so it's understanding your income and your expenses, accounting for every penny, and then paying yourself first, right? So first, understanding your income and your expenses, and then along with that too, your cash flow. So the first piece of that is knowing how much money you're bringing in and how much you're spending every month, right? And so when we set a budget for ourselves, we have to be absolutely realistic, right? It makes no sense to set a budget and say that I'm only going to spend $150 on groceries, when in reality, if you're feeding a family of 4 and you are cooking every night, $150 is not going to cover everything you buy at the grocery store. So you need to take at least a month and check and see, okay, well, like, what exactly did I spend in each of these categories? And I think in the group files, if it's not there, I'll upload a sample template for you guys to take a look at. But be realistic about what you're spending, right? We can't change habits unless we actually know what the symptoms of our problem are. And so understanding like exactly how much money is going out and what I'm spending it on will greatly help you figure out, okay, how can I budget better? And so it wasn't until I actually started tracking my expenses that I realized for real. I knew it in my heart, but I realized for real that I had a shopping problem, right? And so you have to confront that and get real with yourself and be like, okay, wow, $500, that's a big deal. And I shouldn't be spending that amount for how much I'm bringing in, right? So figure out how much money you bring in every month, and then your expenses should fall in line to that. And sometimes what you might even find is that you may have more expenses than you have income, right? And so sometimes people think that, poor people just manage their money poorly. And that might not even be your issue. It might be you don't have enough income to live your life, right? And you could cut down every bill in the world, but like if you're not actually generating enough money, if you are underemployed, no amount of creative budgeting is going to help fix that. So that will help you identify and see, okay, am I underemployed? Do I need to generate more income? Do I need to find an additional job to supplement? Hey, Catherine, thanks for joining. Do I need to find an additional job to help supplement my income till I get to a place where I'm covering my expenses, right? And so until you sit down and take a look at, where your money is going, you're not going to understand what your problem is and how to fix it, right? And so many times, so like I'm going to give you guys a template, but don't be confined to just that document, right? You might have different expenses. A lot of things could be different for you. So this is just a guide that you can go by to help you get a start. And then the other piece too is understanding your cash flow. Like, when does your money come in? So like for me, budgeting became really easy when I became a teacher because I was getting paid once a month, right? Hey Bryce, thanks for joining. And so I got this one lump sum and I'm like, all right, let's allocate where this money is going, right? So maybe yours is different. Maybe you get paid bi-weekly. Maybe you get paid, every week. Maybe your income is variable. And so a lot of that factors into how you budget. And so you really have to take into consideration, how do all of these things work together for me in my situation, in my family, and how I can take control of that to create a better financial future for myself. Okay, so that is understanding your income, expenses, and your cash flow. Okay, the next tip is to account for every single penny. Okay, and so people like say zero budgeting might be a term you've heard before. And what this means is that for every cent that comes into your possession, it is assigned something, right? And so maybe you get paid like the same amount every time. And that's easy to budget, right? Because we know what to expect. But even for my folks that, might get bonuses or, they are hourly, as soon as you know how much money you're making, assign everything something, right? You don't want to leave room for you to say, all right, well, I got this extra $45. What am I going to do with it? Like, no, you need to figure that out up front. And so something I like to do is like when I have extra money, I like to break it down into the 40-40-20. And so I'll take 40% of it and use it to pay off debt, 40% to invest, and then 20% I'll do something fun, right? And so normally that works a little bit better with larger sums, but like you can adopt a rule for yourself for when you have, a bonus or you have some additional monies that you weren't expecting. To make sure that that when something comes in, it has somewhere to go, because otherwise it will find somewhere to go. And more often than not, it's somewhere that's not productive. And so we have to train ourselves to make our money work for us instead of just allowing it to, just be tricked off somewhere, right? Because at the end of the day, you either worked for it or it was something that you could have invested and done better with. So we don't want to waste our money and let it not work for us. All right, so that is accounting for every penny. So even back to that, right? So even in, for those of us who have regular pay and we know how much money we're going to get, it is not good enough to just pay your bills and then say, okay, I'm going to do whatever I want with the rest. Like, that's not a good practice to have. So like, and that could be $100, that could be $600, that could be any amount. You want to make sure that whatever this money is, you know exactly where it's going. And another thing you can do on top of that, so let's say you do have, some discretionary income. What I like to do is I like to challenge myself. At the end of the month, if I still have like some fun money I haven't spent, I'm like, okay, well, how can I be resourceful with this? And can I put some more away? Can I find a way to save even more and invest in my future, right? Because what we do today determines what we do. Hey, how we can live in the future. Hey, Toya, thanks for joining. Okay, so yeah, accounting for every penny and making sure that and you're telling your money where to go. It's not just up and deciding like, oh, today I feel like going to the mall and buying some new Jordans. Okay. But yeah, so count for every penny. And then the final tip is to pay yourself first. And I probably should have said that first, but this is so important. This is one of the ones that I really struggled with because I had a hard time believing that I could make my budget work, limiting myself with less money, right? And so even if you start off small, you start off with $25 you put into your savings account before you do anything else every time you get paid. Like, you pay yourself first and you get in the habit of doing that, and you learn to spend what's left. Instead of what most of us do is we spend, and then we're like, oh yeah, I'll save, whatever at the end of the month. And it never works because we find something to spend it on instead of putting it in our savings account, or in our Acorns account, or in whatever account we're using to put money away. And so what I'm going to challenge everybody to do is check yourself. Are you paying yourself first? Are you putting any money away for tomorrow and saving? Because at the end of the day, what does anything matter if I don't have any money in the bank just in case, or for the future, or in case anything happens, right? Because we are not trying to work forever. We don't want to have to go to work. That's not the goal. Right now, let me read. I do that, but I found money challenges on Pinterest to pay myself first. Yeah, so a money challenge, that's a great way to start paying yourself first, by making it a game, make it fun, make it enjoyable, right? So that's a good point, Stephanie. By finding a way to make it fun. Hey, Whitney, thanks for joining. But yeah, so definitely pay yourself first, and whatever that amount is, just do something. Yeah, start small, start where you are. And so again, it doesn't have to be several $100s if that's not the place you're in, because that's definitely not where I started. I would start $10. That's what I thought I could do, and I knew I could do that. And then you get in the habit, you save that $10 every time you can, and then you start to increase it, right? Until you get to the point where you're like, okay, I can put away a couple $100s. And what you'll find is that once you become serious about taking care of your finances, you will figure out a way to make the rest of that budget work. And sometimes it's like, dang, I really want to do something. I would really want to go to that concert, but I better pick up a side hustle to pay for it. And that's something I learned from my mom too, is because she works track meets on the side. And what she'll say is income before expenses. So if you have an opportunity to make money before you spend it, you should always take the opportunity to make the additional money. And my mom is like, if I want something, I need to work, 2 or 3 track meets to get that thing, right? Because it wasn't in her regular pay. And so sometimes you have to figure out, okay, what else do I have to do this fun thing I want to do after I've paid myself, right? Because then you can feel less guilty about that spending because you already paid yourself for the month, right? But if you're not in the habit of doing that, then that's when you start to be like, oh man, I can't do this. This is hard, right? So just start small, find a way to pay yourself first so you can be like, okay, yes, I can keep going, right? All right. And then another thing too to help keep yourself motivated is once you put that money in that savings account, you take it out too many times and you can get a fee for that coming out that savings account, right? And I think with most institutions, it's like 3 or 6. I can't really remember right now, but that's the number I'm not trying to hit, right? So it forces you to become disciplined because there's a consequence if you don't. Yes, side hustles for the win, right? I'm all here for all the side hustles, especially the ones that you're passionate about and the ones that you enjoy. And so, yeah, you put that money into that savings account and you realize if you withdraw from it too many times, then you get a fee. You're like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna figure this out, right? And so that's what we need to start doing is like, okay, pay myself first and then figure out what to do with the rest, right? Don't be crazy with it. Don't try to pay yourself $500 if you've never done that before. But start small, $10, $20, $25 a month if you don't have any experience with paying yourself first. And then you start to increase when you see, okay, now I know what to do. Okay, so those 3 tips. The first one was understand your income, your expenses, your cash flow, what you're doing monthly so that you can actually create a real budget that makes sense and something that you can actually follow. That was tip 1. The second one is to account for every penny. You don't want to leave anything to chance. And so if you make $1,857 a month, then $1,857 a month needs to be accounted for. Don't round down to $1,500 and be like, oh yeah, the rest is mine. No, you account for every single dollar, every single penny. And then lastly, pay yourself first, which should have been first, right? But get in the habit of saying, okay, I'm going to put this money away for myself, and then you spend what's left. Instead of saying at the end of the month, I'm just going to put away whatever's left over, because there won't be anything. You'll spend it. It's really fun to spend money. And so you'll find a way to spend it so you don't have to save it. It's not in our nature to save money, especially with all the marketing coming at us, big pictures, images, graphics, stuff like buy. It's always in our face. So like there's always something to buy, right? But that's why we have to be diligent and persistent about making sure that we are saving and taking care of ourselves for the future. All right, so those are my 3 tips on budgeting. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the mindset to do all of this, because if you are not mentally tough and develop that tenacity, that persistence, that wherewithal to go about it, none of this is even going to matter. You're just going to be like, oh, it's too hard, I'm not going to do it, right? But the truth is, anything worth having requires some grit. It requires a little bit of struggle, right? But if you find a way, like Stephanie said, find a game on Pinterest to make it more enjoyable, you can take some of that hardness out of it, right? And so that's something I do to make it more enjoyable. Like, okay, how much extra can I save over my goal? Like, how much at the end of the month more can I put away? And just start thinking about the plans you have for your future, and like make your why relevant. Like bring it to the forefront. Like, why does any of this even matter, right? Because if you're just doing it for the sake of having a big bank account, it's not gonna work. It has to be bigger than just wanting a lot of money in your bank account. Hey, Danica, thanks for joining. And so like at the forefront of everything, understand why any of this even matters, and make it real, right? Keep that somewhere where you are constantly seeing, you're constantly thinking about it. And so earlier in the year, we talked about goal setting and knowing what we're trying to achieve. And if you haven't revisited your goals, that's something you need to do. Like, you need to know what all of this is for. All right, so Whitney says budgeting helped her feel secure in putting more money in her savings because she knew she still had money to do what she needed to do, right? It gives you a clear picture and it helps you see exactly what's there. So it takes some of that angst out and you feel less anxiety about it, right? And so, yeah, budgeting does the same thing for me because I'm like, I really make enough to do that? It's going to sting a little bit, but like, I'm so confident and so like eager to reach my goals that sting of not being able to go out, and do the fun stuff with the cool kids 5 nights a week, it doesn't bother me as much as anymore because I'm like, it doesn't matter. This goal is what I want, and so I'm ready to chase it with a little trade-off, right? I mean, I still enjoy myself. I still do some things, but you can't do everything you used to do. You can't unless you quadruple your income, but it takes some adjusting. But yeah, and so back to the mindset part. So a key thing for me is that I didn't come from wealth, or I don't come from wealth, right? And so I learned to appreciate the things that money gave you access to once I saw, there's more that money can do, right? And so I started to think, this has to end with me. I want to be the one that, hey, Andrew, thanks for joining. I want to be the one that changes the trajectory of my family's legacy, right? Like, now that I know better, especially after coming from financial services and working in investments, I know better. So I need to do better. And I think that once you take that ownership and you realize that, hey, something's got to change, you start to see, okay, I can actually do this. It becomes bigger than you, right? I know this is bigger than me. And so that's a motivating force in itself, that this is bigger than me. And then another thing is being completely transparent with your circle, right? And understanding the power of no. And so there have been times where, you know, my friends are like, hey, you want to do X, Y, Z? And I'm like, nah, that ain't my budget, right? And like, initially it might be weird to be like, I'm on a budget, but like, they might take it a few different ways. They might take it like, oh, she broke, or you being cheap, or whatever. But like, if people are your actual friend and they care about your well-being, that sting will go away, and it'll start to become like, is this in your budget? Like, and it'll be a more supportive thing, right? You got to get comfortable telling people no. You can't say yes to everything, okay? It just is the way it is. And sometimes the people we hang around enable bad habits, right? Because we feed off each other. Oh, hey, girl, let's go to happy hour 3 times in a week. You defeated the purpose of the specials because you done specialed your way up to full price 3 times. Like, nah, that doesn't make good financial sense. Right? I ain't got it. And I do have it sometimes, but that don't mean I'm trying to spend it on that, right? Because if you keep spending it, then you won't have it. Okay, so my income is all electronic, like most people. So what do you recommend as far as paying yourself? Just transfer to another account. Yes, right? So, I like to do everything online, make it as easy as possible. And so one of the things you can do, well, for you, Z, I know you work for yourself. So transferring into another account that you don't have a debit card for, that it is hard to get access to take that money out, is going to be something that helps you. That's one of the ways that I started. So when I was in North Carolina, my savings account was back here in Virginia. And if I wanted money, I had to drive to Virginia to get it. Right? So like when you think about that, I was in Rocky Mount. So it had to be like a real thing. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining. It had to be like a real emergency. Am I really about to drive 2 hours to go pull out $100 out of this account? Because, you know, you feel me? So like, you with Felicia. Okay, yeah. So Felicia said true friends help you protect your budget. Yes, I definitely believe that, right? Like if people are your friends that care about your well-being, and if your well-being is helping you to stay in your budget, which it is, they're going to care about your budget, right? And then hopefully what you can do is you can start to change how they view their finances as well, right? Because if all of us are working together and holding each other accountable, then we're all going to rise. So at the end of the day, that's the mission, right? We want to help our circle move forward and change our circles. But yeah, so my account was back in Virginia, and I had to think like real hard. Am I going to drive to Virginia to get this money out? And it was no, right? So that forced me to save and keep the money there. But yeah, putting it in an account that you don't have access to definitely helps. So I'm going to go ahead and plug my favorite institution right now. It is Ally. It's an online bank. Their savings rate right now is 1.6%. That's like one of the best anywhere. They don't have any physical branches, but the customer service is like A1. I haven't had any trouble with them, and it is quite nice to see your account make money every month, you know? And it's not like $1, $2. It's like quite a few of them, right? So yeah, a separate account, and just transfer it there and don't touch it if at all possible, which it is. But yeah, so that was the next point on mindset. And then lastly, talking about spending, right? I don't want people to think that I am completely against having nice things, right? That's not the thing. I don't think that you should never have anything nice. I do believe that it's okay to buy nice things, but you buy them in moderation and not on credit, right? Because if you can't afford to have it, you shouldn't buy it. Credit is not your money. That belongs to somebody else, right? The only good reason to use a credit card is to get points and rewards. If you can't afford to pay for it in cash and it's not a dire emergency, it shouldn't be going on your credit card. And there are some emergencies that aren't even emergencies that still shouldn't go on your credit card, right? So like, we have to get out of the habit of thinking, you know, I deserve this nice thing. You deserve happiness and love. The things don't really matter, right? So like, get yourself out of the habit of thinking, oh yeah, I can just put this on my credit card. Like, that shouldn't be something that's a regular thought to you. We should be thinking about, okay, can I afford to buy this in cash? And if I can't, I don't need it, right? Yes, Danica, your credit card is not your emergency fund. It's not, right? You deserve happiness. Yeah, I really agree that. You deserve happiness and love. So I'm going to scroll back up and try to read some of these comments real quick. Stephanie says, you can have access to the account. You just have to be disciplined. That's what I've learned, right? But yeah, that's a good point. But like, some of us, we're not there yet. Right? And so if you need to be honest with yourself, like, what level are you at? If you can just transfer from your checking, from your savings to your checking in 2 clicks, and that's not the level of discipline you're at, don't do that to yourself. Because like, initially, I thought I was good. I had PNC's virtual wallet account. And real simply, you just slide the bar and move the money, right? And I was sliding a whole bunch. Couldn't do it. I had to put it in a completely separate account. And like, thinking about it transferring and it taking 3 days to move the money between accounts, I'm like, by the time it get there, I don't even want it no more. So, you know, if you are that disciplined where you can have access to it and you just don't touch it, more power to you. But I know when I started, that was not me. And it was like, it was hard. But, you know, eventually I got to the point where like, oh yeah, okay, I can totally leave that there. Because now I'm like, okay, yeah, when we're going to get to the next 100, the next 1,000. Right? And it gets exciting as you start to see money in your account. Because I can remember a time I'm like, woo, how we gonna pay this rent? Right? So like, to see that growth and experience that growth, that does something to you where like, you can see how far you came. And so maybe that is something we could think about as well when we can start to celebrate how far we've grown. All right, so Whitney says, I have an automatic transfer set up. So on payday, a certain amount moves straight over to a savings account at Ally, that's our friend, that I don't have a card for. Yeah, so excellent point. So for those of us who have an employer, a good thing to do is to just automatically have it move, right? And so if one thing is like, when you don't remember it's coming out, it's almost like it didn't even come out. It's not even there. Kind of like if you have money going into your 401k or 403b, whatever the name of your retirement account is. If you aren't putting money away for retirement yet, we need to talk. But yeah, when you don't see it, it's out of sight, out of mind, right? So any way you can set up automatic stuff is excellent for getting your finances on track. So if you want some more help doing that, just let me know. I'll be very glad to help you. Andrew says he prefers nice things like lunch. Like, yes, I prefer nice things like lunch too, right? But in moderation, right? We don't go out to lunch every day. You need to learn how to cook, because sometimes it's healthier for you too, and it's less expensive. Glenn says he just ordered $65 worth of food while watching this. I don't have that discipline. $65? What are you eating? That is $65 worth of food that you ordered. Did you get Chinese or pizza? Maybe that's for a lot of people that's in your house. Clearly, we need to talk. All right. Yeah, Felicia says my job allows direct deposit into up to 5 accounts, and money goes straight to the savings. Yes, that's an excellent. I like that your job allows direct deposit into 5 accounts. So like, especially for some of us who have multiple goals that we're saving for, you can track the progress in each of those different accounts. I was thinking back to one video I did on saving, well, like if you have a goal, you want to travel, that's one bucket. You know, maybe you're saving for a down payment on a house, that's another bucket. You know, you're building up your emergency fund, that's another bucket. And so if you put money into those separately, you can track the progress on each one versus having a big old bucket and everything just going in there. That's a strategy to save. So I like multiple accounts for stuff, just so I can see the progress on each different goal. But yeah, excellent comments, guys. So just to recap, oh, it looks like we went a little bit over time, but that's okay. My husband is sick of all my separate accounts. I mean, if it works for you and he doesn't have to manage it, he'll get over it. The corn jar video. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Back when I was in North Carolina. Yeah. So I think those videos are still available. You guys can see like my progress in my public speaking. I used to hate doing these, but now it's like one of my favorite things to do. So yeah, growth, as we mentioned. But yeah, so recap what we talked about. Budgeting, what it is. It's really just a roadmap, a guide to help you get to a goal. It's not for the poor. It is for everybody. Multi-billion-dollar corporations use budgets, right? So it's not something that we should think about as like, I'm broke, I got a budget. Like, nah. People with lots of money use budgets. Z says she was doing the save $5 challenge, but you really got cash anymore, right? And that's one of the challenges too to saving that way, is because I rarely have cash either. It's just so much easier for plastic, but the thing with plastic is so easy to swipe too, right? Like, you don't even think about it because it's like you can't feel the paper leaving your hand. I feel like with paper, you're like, do I really want to break this 20? Nah, I'm not gonna buy that. But like with the card, you just swoop, swoop, swoop. And just the money just gone. And before you know it, you're like, dang, that was $300 gone, right? So the debit card, that was a tool, that was a trick to get us to spend more, to make it easier to spend. But again, be disciplined. I know, well, most of us have smartphones. There's apps. You can check your accounts regularly and see how to save. One of the apps I like to use is Capital with a Q. I'll put the link to that. Another one I like to use, this one is for more retirement, Acorns, to save. And Acorns and Capital, you can set goals for both of them. With Acorns, I like it a lot because you can set it up so every time you swipe your card, it forces you to put money into your Acorns account, right? So like, just think about that. Every time I spend money, I'm saving money. And it's, Acorns, meaning it's just small amounts that you're putting away. Felicia says, Shantae, I feel like you would need a separate spreadsheet to help keep it all together. For the sinking fund. Okay. And then Z says, you try to leave your wallet at home and then you be like, oh, I might need something. What could you possibly need? Terrell, funny and educational. Oh, thank you. Stephanie says, keep my debit card at home unless I know I have to go buy something. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I do try to keep something on me in case of emergency, like, tire goes flat or something like that. But for the most part, I'm like a spending ninja. Not buying it, right? Because, again, I'm thinking about where I want to go. At the end of the day, these companies are not here for me. They don't want me to be rich. They want me to spend all my money on their products that's probably going to break. So, yeah. I don't know where I was in the recap. Your child is needy. Children are expensive. Hello. Where I was on the recap. But just talking about budgets. The 3 tips were understanding your income and expenses. Using templates as a guide and not like an end-all be-all. Second tip was accounting for every penny. And then lastly, pay yourself first. All right. And then to tie this all together, making sure your mindset is right? Getting in touch with your why, really understanding why you're doing any of this. Why does any of it even matter, right? Because it's bigger than just having a lot of money in your bank account, right? All right. So hopefully you guys got something from this tonight. I'm signing off. Have a great evening. You will be seeing lots more of me now that school is over. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good night.